long life. The cultural beauty of Japan has long captured the attention of the world. Recently, however, this global attention has had a different focus. Japan is facing a dramatic demographic development. 30 million Japanese people are now over 65. Life expectancy here is extended by 25 years in the past 4 decades. It is now the highest in the world. Here in Japan, it gets harder every year. The problems with the elderly are only more difficult to master. For example, hospitals can barely accommodate more old people. Sons will have to bear this burden instead. Then, when your family must care for you, this brings the rhythm of the family into utter confusion. And another problem is when the old have to look after the even older. Okinawa, a group of islands in the Pacific Ocean, is a starting point for a journey through an aging society. If the West can learn something from the elderly Japanese, it is here. Nowhere else are there so many old people. Okinawa is the ideal place to reach a truly biblical age. At 70 you're a child, a teenager at 80, and at 90 call to your ancestors in the sky to please wait until you're 100 to meet you. That is the motto written on this stone block in the village of Agimi. The women of Okinawa hold the record of the highest life expectancy in the world at 86 years. Several centenarians also populate the island. So what is their secret? Sumitiara may be 92, but she still labours in the fields, singing traditional songs as she works. I get up regularly at 7 o'clock, pray to my deceased husband, go to the field and the coast. In the afternoon I play gate ball with my friends. I cannot afford to be motionless. Movement is one of the secrets to our health here in Okinawa. In a small restaurant in Okinawa, Emiko Kinjo only serves food that will supposedly prolong life. The small dishes are mostly vegetarian and almost all low in calories. Diners are not allowed to reach saturation. Only up to 80% of the stomach is ever filled. Most old people live alone, yet life here is not lonely. Conversations with neighbours and decades of friendships hold society together here. With my husband I used to go hiking, which was the best time for me. After his death I felt very sad. Now I have my life force back. We support each other. Without my friends I wouldn't go anywhere. In this village there's not enough land to cultivate, so the boys are leaving and only the elderly remain. But they have remained strong. Even if they are 100, they want to do anything to live on. They have friends, neighbours, and live like a big family. They want to control their own lives to the last breath. The positive mental attitude to life, that's what counts. The elderly are a model for us all, not only in Okinawa. Playing gate ball, a faster version of croquet, the elderly appear quite youthful. But traditions change slowly, even in Okinawa. It worries me very much that our sons no longer follow our traditions. They eat American fast food, play computer games, and don't spend time outdoors. It is very doubtful that they will reach our age. They had to close schools here because the young are absent. Who will provide for us? Soul peace. A completely different way of life for older people is found in the Zen monastery Daijoji. At 3:30 a.m. the day begins. Get up, clean, meditate. Everything is formal and ritualized in the Japanese Zen Buddhism. More and more often, older Japanese are submitting to the rigid rules. They call it escapism, a search for the ideal world in troubled times. Monks like Kanyo Kaguyu have chosen to adapt this extreme way of life. It is the rejection of a world that has become alien to him. Why not continue to search for spiritual meaning and question your values in old age? In days gone by, the elderly in this part of Japan used to just go into the mountains to die when they could no longer contribute to society. Zeal. Tokyo. This is the world from which the monks flee. It is a place of restlessness, stress, and overwork, especially for older people. But in the Sugamo Quarter, the elderly are among their own kind. Here they can find what they want. The market is tailored to their needs. In Tokyo, the elderly often work up to their death. Only 20% of pensioners have effectively retired. Working into old age is seen as a privilege in the second largest industrial nation in the world. It is seen as playing an important role in society. Many also have to work in order to cope financially. The pensions are meagre. At the Shinto shrine, the elderly gather to ease their aches and pains. Body parts that hurt are covered with incense. Anyone who calls a taxi in Tokyo will often have drivers who have gone long past retirement age, like Yasuyushi Matsu. The global economic crisis is very noticeable in Japan. He has sleepless nights worrying about it. Obviously, the economy is doing poorly. The pensions are very low in Japan. Without additional work, it would be impossible to survive. I'm healthy and will remain active as long as possible. As I am doing, so are millions of other Japanese people. Chitsuku Takahashi is a member of parliament. Her party has risen strongly in the last elections. She is critical of the fact that so far, Japan has hardly laid any emphasis on social policy. In itself, it is good that we have a society that is so old and that people live so long. But the problem is that there are hardly any young people. Soon every worker will have to provide for an old person. And poverty among the elderly will continue to rise. Already 20% of elderly Japanese live on the poverty line. No one takes notice of them, and they die alone. This is a reality that frightens me. Many old people lose their position in society. More and more elderly, unemployed people line the pavements of the big cities, like here in Tokyo's Sanya district. They kill time waiting for odd jobs. Feeding the poor is funded by private donations. The state looks away. 1/3 of all suicides in Japan are now committed by someone over 65, a world record. Standing in line for food distribution in the north of Tokyo, more and more elderly Japanese are taking part in such scenes, unworthy of wealthy Japan. Lifetime employment and seniority, that is now history in Japan. I come here because I meet friends and get to eat. I had a job until I was 65, now I live from one day to the next. The sociologist Aya Abe predicts a sharpening of the distribution struggle between old and young.
Most people now feel very pessimistic about Japan's future because one of the main reasons is the aging of the population, and our public social outlay is increasing very rapidly because of the pensions and health coverage for the elderly. And that is not going to change for a while because our population aging is going to go on for some time in future. And that means fewer and fewer working age generation has to support the elderly. And many people are very pessimistic about that. They feel that they have to bear the burden more and more just to support the elderly.
Metropolis. At Ueno Park in Tokyo, people are relaxing during the cherry blossom season. It is a time when different generations can come together. As many as 90% of young Japanese say they would like children. Having only one child has long been customary in Japanese families. The work environment keeps many from starting to raise a family. Today, a third of young Japanese are no longer in permanent job role. For the first time, the descent into poverty has become a frighteningly real prospect for many people. The ageing society arouses fears, particularly amongst boys. Trust in the national pension has decreased, especially in the trendy district of Harajuku. The younger generation sees itself as a disadvantage. Good jobs are hard to find and a pension fund requires their input. But what are they getting in return? Yes, we accept the old, but the big problem for our generation is that we are now paying their rent. My dad has threatened me that if I stop paying it, I should leave the country.
I think the young generation is feeling a lot of what should I say? That they're getting the shorter side of the stick kind of feeling because our public pension system and our public health insurance system is a pay-as-you-go system, so that younger generation is paying for the elderly population's pensions and health insurance coverage. And that burden is getting quite high, and we now know that younger generation, when they grow up, they wouldn't be able to get as much of pension as the older generation are getting now.
The Ishizu family live on the outskirts of Tokyo. 2 children have become rare in Japanese families, but the recently increased child benefit is providing the means to have more children again. How do young families like this see the challenges of the future? The population lives very long in Japan. For those over 60, there should be enough jobs. The government should ensure this. I think this would take the stress off the young families. The elderly would also be able to be more independent. I'll probably get both my own and my husband's parents to take care of. If things go badly economically in Japan, it will be very difficult for us.
介護とかですよね。そういうことで言ったら、将来的にはあるのかなという感じですかね。
Country life. In the province of Kyoto, the priorities are very different to those in the city. Living amongst nature is important, as is the maintenance of traditions. This is the Sakimoto family's farm. What was once common is now increasingly rare. 3 generations living together under one roof. It may already be a great burden for the boys to take care of us. For everybody, it is exhausting. We are privileged because our sons care about us. We must occasionally take some of the load and get involved to show gratitude. Then we can function well in living together. Power of the spirit. The Gion district in the old imperial city of Kyoto. As in earlier times, the role of women is still important today in creating social developments. In Japan, divorces are piling up between retired couples. Mostly it is the women who apply for the separation to be able to enjoy retirement without the burden of a bored and awkward spouse. Such problems do not exist in the mysterious world of the geishas, however. How do they deal with the burden of aging? The white masks of the geishas are a symbol of aloofness and discretion. The first entertainment districts emerged in the 17th century. The visitors were looking for amusement, romance, and witty entertainment. Ensuring they got this was the geisha. Yuki Kudu leads the geisha house. Age is not an issue for them in their world. If you feel old, you are old. Everything is old to you, that's all. But if you think you are young, then everything is young. It depends on the mental attitude. I was very sick and almost gave up. But I have never resigned. A positive attitude is the secret to a long life.
私はこれ日本の女性っておかしいけど日本人だけじゃなくって世界の人にもそうやけどもそうやね
Even if you're older, you need to look pretty. Everyone can come to my house and become a geisha. I always say, you should look as beautiful as possible. Put makeup that is pretty as possible on your face. Then you will remain physically attractive into old age. Never let go. I find that important. Each day will be like a birthday.
舞妓さん芸妓さんのね体験ができるお仕事をねさせてもらってますね。
Innovation. Whilst Japan, on the one hand, maintains tradition, on the other it is focused on future technology. In Japanese laboratories, the future is already happening. Robot masks are becoming more like humans, robots with human features, a notion that has not gone down well in the West. In Japan, could be the future for the elderly. The technophile Japanese see robots as a great opportunity for elderly care. The machines can carry an old woman into the bathroom and wash her, lead her to the lift and carry her bags. The visions of these engineers seem to have no limits. Still in its infancy is this computer-controlled walking aid for the elderly and infirm. This most recent innovation works as follows. The brain sends electrical signals to the limbs. The prosthesis reads this information from the nervous system with its sensors on the skin and then relays the desired movement from the brain to its engines. If the technology is fully developed, the disabled could learn to walk again.
It can realize the independent life support or such as nursing care. But the important thing is I think independent life support, because if the elderly person or other persons lives in their daily life by themselves with these technologies, at that time nursing care persons number can be reduced.
Hope. You don't often see strange faces in Japan's major cities. Immigration to Japan is still very difficult. The government is now considering filling its nursing shortage with carers from other parts of Asia, but many failed to get past the language barrier. The Japanese are happy amongst themselves. Just like here in the Koto nursing home in Tokyo, where there is a much more relaxed view on the elderly. Young life meets old here. 140 elderly people live here. The oldest is 101 years old. The idea of the extended family forms the basic philosophy of this nursing home. The child visitors learn to deal with the older social behaviour, and the old forget for a while about their frailties. Close personal relationships between children and the elderly here are the exception. There is still the traditional type of Japanese relations where the individual stands back behind the group. The children are so honest, they do not lie. They give me strength to make myself physically strong. It is great. They make me healthier and I am very grateful. This can't be replaced by anything. I was not always so healthy, but the atmosphere here has changed me fundamentally. The boy has always stretched out his hand to me when he sees me coming. That's wonderful. It is this generation that built Japan into the wealthy place that it is. In their professional life, there was little time or opportunity to sit back and relax. Japan is not a country of leisure. We Japanese are the hardest working people and rest the least. I hope this will gradually change for the better, no matter how poor or rich someone is. In the process, communication has suffered, at the expense of young people. We must learn from European countries like France and England, which do that much better than us.
The
Japanese have paid a high price for their old age social problems. Income is shrinking. Japan's prosperity is volatile and old values are slowly disappearing. Japan has responded to the aging of its society too late. As Europe's demographic heads in a similar direction, there are valuable lessons to be learnt.